Baker 231, Patrolman Leith, is now 1042 for the last time. May she rest in peace.
Bree gave her life so that all of ours might be better. She chose this career, this life, out of a desire to lift up those in need.
Her smile, beauty, and happy demeanor lit up the room, and she always looked so at ease and peace with the world. But inside, she hid from other people's views how hard she had to work as a single mom to balance a full-time job on middle shift while raising a son with dreams of watching him grow up and become a man.
Passionate, determined, God-fearing, beautiful. I just love you so much, Boozy baby. And I'm gonna make you proud, most definitely.
Now at 6, we're remembering the life of IMPD officer Breanne Leith. Leith, killed in the line of duty exactly 1 week ago. Today, a huge funeral at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Good evening. We do have team coverage of those services tonight.
And we learned so much more about Officer Leith through her family and peers. We'll get to Stephanie Wade and Megan Sanctorum in moments. But tonight, we begin with RTV6's Cameron Riddle live at Crown Hill Cemetery, the final resting place for Officer Leith. Cameron.
Amanda, good evening. The streets were packed here with residents. Hundreds of people lined this stretch of 34th Street and Boulevard Place to pay their respects as the police officers then dispersed because they could not go inside due to the coronavirus pandemic. Take a look at these pictures that we shot throughout the day of the gathering, the citywide effort to honor this fallen officer who was shot and killed a week ago, and today is finally now off duty with her 1042 being called over the radio today. Inside the cemetery for the final goodbyes was just the mayor, police chief, and Officer Breanne Leith's immediate family. Outside were people who said they lined the streets to make sure that her family understood that they cared and that they would honor Officer Leith even from a distance.
Well, I've heard a lot of officers getting killed in the line of duty, but this one just takes it all. I mean, it really does. You know, being as young as she was, you know, and like I said, I feel for the family, the friends, the officers as well. So my heart goes out to all of them.
And he talks about that officer who just had 2 years on the force, who wanted to be a police officer since she was 7 years old, the daughter of parents working in law enforcement and civil service. He was among the people here who wanted that family to know that they cared, and she is appreciated, and her legacy will be remembered. In Indianapolis, I'm Cameron Riddle, RTV6.
Thank you, Cameron. And today, an unprecedented funeral in honor of Officer Leith. It was the first funeral in Indianapolis Motor Speedway's storied history, but also because of COVID-19, everyone had to practice social distancing. Stephanie Wade shows us even though people were physically separated, the memory of Bree Leith brought everyone closer together in spirit.
It's really emotional and overwhelming to see. Where normally this place would be ignited with energy, the stands filled with cheers just next month, now filled with somber police officers wrapped around the track, saying their final goodbyes to one of their own. It was an honoring under unique circumstances.
BB, Breezy. A lot of people call her many names. Boozy baby was ours.
What would normally be held at Bankers Life Fieldhouse for officers killed in the line of duty was moved to the tracks where racing heroes make their mark at the Indy 500. Much like Officer Breanne Leith made her mark on this community.
Breanne accomplished and gave more in her 24 years than most could ever hope to in a lifetime.
She offered a glimmer of hope and a sense of peace through her smile.
Beginning at the start and finish line, dozens of IMPD officers lined the track, saluting Officer Leith one by one as the hearse passed by.
And while a global pandemic may keep us physically separated today, the sun rose this morning on a city that has come together as one.
Each placing a carnation onto a trailer carrying her picture that would be taken to her final resting place.
To Zane, I hope when you get older, you get the opportunity to watch this ceremony for your mommy. She touched the lives of so many people, and I want you to know that she died as a hero.
I just love you so much, Boozy baby. And I'm gonna make you proud.
The people of Indianapolis, just as proud. Bree, fulfilling her promise to protect a now grateful city. Stephanie Wade, RTV6.
Well, the procession for Officer Bree Leith also stopped by her IMPD East District headquarters for her final end-of-watch call. Our Megan Sanctorum was there, and she shows us that emotional scene.
Dozens of police officers and community members lined this street for the procession, and they stood in silence for Officer Brianne Leith's final call.
IMPD Patrolman Brianne Leith, Baker 231, was shot and killed in the line of duty for responding to domestic disturbance.
A symbolic end to her tour of duty.
Baker 231 selflessly answered the ultimate call of sacrifice, serving the city of Indianapolis and its citizens.
A broadcast over police radios.
Baker 231 Officer Brianne Leith and her family will always be remembered in our prayers.
As a grateful and heartbroken community stood by, bowed their heads, and listened. Many lining the streets were her co-workers, her IMPD family. But there were also dozens of people who never met her, but were still brought to tears and felt compelled to pay their respects.
Overwhelming, very emotional, very touching.
Knowing the community lost one of its best.
No, I didn't know her. It was like I knew I love her. I love her family, and my heart felt sympathy to all of them, to everyone.
Hoping they find comfort and love from a city eternally grateful for the way she lived and her ultimate sacrifice.
Baker 231, Patrolman Leith, is now 1042 for the last time. May she rest in peace.
Working for you, Megan Sanctorum, RTV6.
And the Indiana Women's Prison renamed its nursery after Officer Bree Leith today in recognition of everything she did and the sacrifices she made. Leith was a former correctional officer at the Indiana Women's Prison.
And you can take time to remember and pay your respects to Officer Leith right now on our website, theindychannel.com. We have stories documenting her life, and interview with her parents, and several pieces on how Leith had a positive impact on our community.
And the coronavirus pandemic is still spreading across the state.
The Indiana State Department of Health reports dozens of more deaths and hundreds of new cases. The Department of Health says 41 more people have died from COVID-19. So the coronavirus has killed a total of 477 Hoosiers since the pandemic began. There are now 611 new cases of COVID-19. So far, 9,542 people in Indiana have been diagnosed with the coronavirus. 51,115 people in the state have been tested for COVID-19.
And nearly 39% of everyone who has died from COVID-19 in Indiana were 80 years old or older. About 30% were between 70 and 79 years old, 20% in the 60 to 69 age range. And it still holds true. No one younger than 30 has died from the coronavirus in the state. Also, about 59% of the COVID-19 deaths in Indiana have been men. 39% have been women.
Also, the Department of Health says nearly 45% of the intensive care unit beds in Indiana are still available, and about 76% of the state's ventilators are available. Today, the governor announced the state could start to reopen as soon as early May. Governor Eric Holcomb said the virus numbers for the rest of this week and next week will be very important to the decision on when to start getting back to normal. 3 states, including Ohio, have said they will start to reopen on May 1st. Governor Holcomb didn't give a specific date on when Indiana could reopen.
Food suppliers,
President Trump is
such incredible bravery and the determination and drive. of our citizens.
President Trump is revealing tonight a set of guidelines that the states can follow to determine when to ease coronavirus restrictions. The president and his team are speaking at the White House right now, as you heard, following a call with governors. Those guidelines include widespread testing and a steady decline in coronavirus cases. You can watch the White House briefing streaming right now on the RTV6 Facebook page.
And we've been saying the COVID-19 pandemic has hit the Indiana and national economy hard, and every Thursday we get a stark illustration of just how true that is. The Indiana Department of Workforce Development reports 118,000 Hoosiers applied for unemployment benefits last week. That means almost 450,000 people in Indiana have applied for unemployment benefits in 1 month. Across the country, 5.2 million more Americans filed for unemployment last week. And that means 22 million people across the country have lost their job during the COVID-19 pandemic.
While you may be tempted to spend your stimulus check on something fun like new clothes or remodeling your home, experts say you should only spend it if you already have a rainy day fund in place. We talked with Chase Holler, an attorney with the Neighborhood Christian Legal Clinic. He says many Hoosiers may not realize they still need to pay their bills, rent, mortgage, and other bills. And even though evictions are on hold, that doesn't mean you won't have to pay. Holler recommends using the stimulus money to pay your bills and create a cushion of savings you can use.
A minimum 2 months of necessary expenses, in an ideal situation up to 6 months. That sounds very, that can feel very intimidating to save that amount of money in cash. But it's certainly necessary to weather a situation like this where you legitimately may not be able to find employment for that period of time, and your unemployment benefits may not last you the entire time that you're without a job.
Holler recommends creating an essentials-only budget and determine what you can cut if you need to.
So even if someone's ill, even if they have chronic illness, they can live the best life that they can with our help.
RTV6 is the station committed to connecting you with jobs and resources with our Hiring Hoosiers initiative that we started more than a year ago. Through the pandemic, companies are turning to us to help get the word out that they are hiring. Tonight, our Nicole Griffin is focusing on a home health care company that is looking to help displaced workers right now.
Around 200 patients in Marion and surrounding counties currently receive care from Home Services Unlimited in the comfort of their own home. But right now, leaders with the company tell me due to the coronavirus pandemic, they need to fill several positions.
The good thing about being a nurse, a home care nurse, is you get that one-on-one interaction and that one-on-one care with your patient.
From monitoring vital signs to caring for wounds.
Any problems with a lot of fatigue or tiredness?
Or just performing day-to-day personal care. Nurses, therapists, and personal care attendants with Home Services Unlimited help their patients in a variety of different ways.
Helping people get better. That's what nurses are about, improving people and helping people live the best lives they can.
We have a lot of patients that are recovering from strokes, heart attacks. Those things don't go away just because we're having a COVID crisis.
As the pandemic continues, HSU needs to be able to serve even more patients who come home from the hospital. But due to employees losing childcare or having to quarantine, they are short-staffed.
We just got our first COVID positive patient the other day. We don't know how many we will get, but most of our patients have been moved out of the hospital to make room for those COVID patients.
So in order to be prepared, they need to hire nurses and home health aides to help even more patients.
People are safer in their homes. If once they get home, then they don't have to worry about so much exposure from folks coming in and out of their room and going from patient to patient. But it takes a lot more staff to see those people because they're spread out over the county.
Like hospital workers, HSU employees have personal protective equipment and follow CDC guidelines to stay safe and healthy. Working for you, Nicole Griffin, RTV6.
And right now we need to get to the White House where President Trump is updating the nation on the COVID-19 pandemic.
They're individual states. I've dealt with them now a long time, and we've had a great relationship. Democrat, Republican, the relationship has been good. This strategy is based on hard, verifiable data. I want to thank Dr. Birx for her incredible leadership in crafting these guidelines in consultation with scientists, experts, and medical professionals across government. Dr. Birx will explain the guidelines in more detail in a few moments. And Dr. Fauci has been absolutely terrific. We've all worked together, and we've worked together well. They are interested in the health of our country, and we're all interested in the viability and making us truly great again. We took the greatest economy in the history of the world, and we closed it in order to win this war, and we're in the process of winning it now. Our approach outlines 3 phases in restoring our economic life. We are not opening all at once, but one careful step at a time. And some states will be able to open up sooner than others. Some states are not in the kind of trouble that others are in. Now that we have passed the peak in new cases, we're starting our life again. We're starting rejuvenation of our economy again in a safe and structured and very responsible fashion. Our strategy will continue to protect senior citizens and other vulnerable populations while allowing military and other groups of incredibly talented people to go about their real business and the business that's supposed to be hard at work at doing, and nobody does it better. Our military is the greatest anywhere in the world, and we're so thankful for what they've done. Healthy Americans will now be able to return to work as conditions on the ground allow. Instead of a blanket shutdown, we will pursue a focus on sheltering the highest risk individuals, so important. We're establishing clear scientific metric and benchmarks on testing, new case growth and hospital capacity that must be met before advancing to each phase. And that's each phase specifically in the reopening of our country. This is a gradual process. As the caseload in a state continues to go down, restrictions can continue to be eased and come off. Throughout the process, citizens will continue to be called upon to use all of their weapons in this war, vigorous hygiene, teleworking when possible, staying at home if you feel sick, maintaining social distance, sanitizing commonly used surfaces, and being highly conscious of their surroundings. Those are our weapons, and they're very powerful weapons indeed. Governors will be empowered to tailor an approach that meets the diverse circumstances of their own states. Every state is very different. They're all beautiful. We love them all, but they're very, very different. If they need to remain closed, we will allow them to do that. And if they believe it is time to reopen, we will provide them the freedom and guidance to accomplish that task, and very, very quickly, depending on what they want to do. We are also encouraging states to work together to harmonize their regional efforts. We'll have numerous cases where states have worked and will be working very, very closely together. As we reopen, we know that there will be continued hardships and challenges ahead. Our goal will be to quickly identify and address any outbreaks and put them out rapidly. If the virus returns in the fall, as some scientists think it may, possibly, these guidelines will ensure that our country is up and running so that we can likewise put it out quickly. At the heart of our strategy is the vital role of medical research, especially for therapies that will significantly improve outcomes for high-risk patients and reduce the need for urgent care. This will be tremendously valuable in allowing life to eventually return to normal. At least 35 clinical trials are already underway, including antiviral therapies, immune therapies, and blood therapies in the form of convalescent plasma. You've all heard about some of these events and some of these therapies, they've come a long way. What's been done in the last 4 weeks is incredible. We will also continue to expand our testing capacity. We have now completed more than 3.5 million tests, by far the most anywhere in the world. Areas of our country that have been hot spots have done much more testing on a per capita basis than South Korea. We've done more than South Korea, and South Korea's done a good job, but we've done more. We will continue to work with governors to advise them on how to conduct both surveillance and diagnostic testing. We have now distributed over 600,000 Abbott ID Now point-of-care diagnostic tests. These are tests that are done on site, and within 5 minutes, you know the answer, positive or negative. In recent days, we have seen a dramatic increase in the number of tests performed by hospitals and academic institutions, with more than 120,000 tests recently reported in a single day, far more than any country in the world has ever been able to do. And our numbers are actually going up. As these new and better testing solutions come online, we're seeing this additional capacity reflected in the numbers. For this reason, the number of tests processed in commercial laboratories has dropped from approximately 100,000 to roughly 75,000 tests over the last week. The reason it dropped is because we have so many other tests and we don't even have to go through the laboratories. But the laboratories have tremendous additional capacity, and states feel free to use that capacity. Some in the media falsely reported this as a bad thing, when in fact it is a great thing, because it indicates that the states are moving to faster, more local testing solutions, including on-the-spot tests. So this drop in the utilization of commercial laboratories is an affirmation that testing, which is at an all-time high, is growing at a historic rate. In other words, the laboratories are great, but now we have forms of testing that are much quicker, much better, and we don't have to use the laboratories, but they're there, and they have a great capacity to do the work. As Dr. Birx has been advising our governors for weeks, we continue to have an excess testing capacity of 1 million tests per week available for use, and our capabilities are growing every single day, especially with the new tests that are coming onto the market rapidly. As we begin a science-based reopening, we must be extra vigilant in blocking the foreign entry of the virus from abroad. Border control, travel restrictions, and other limitations on entry are more important than ever to keep the virus in check and allow Americans to get back to work. The sacrifices our citizens have made in this time of crisis will be remembered, studied, honored, and praised for generations to come. We're really all working together. Democrat, Republican, conservative, liberal, we're all working together. This is not about parties. This is about our country. Now the American people are ready to rise to the occasion once again. They are ready to show the world once more that Americans can defeat any challenger. Together we will rebuild this land that we love. We will reclaim the magnificent destiny that we share, and we will carry our nation forward to new heights of greatness and glory. I would now like to ask Vice President Mike Pence and Dr. Birx to further explain the new guidelines. I want to thank Dr. Birx. I want to thank Dr. Fauci, and I want to thank really especially a man who has devoted 24 hours a day to his task force and done such an incredible job, our great Vice President, Mike Pence. Please, Mike.
Thank you, Mr. President. The members of the White House Coronavirus Task Force today joined the President to meet with a bipartisan group of members of the House and of the Senate to get their counsel on the development of what the President unveiled to America's governors this afternoon. The new guidelines for opening up America again are a product of the best science and the best common sense that the President has marshaled on this team and from a broad range of advisors from all across the nation. From the moment President Trump established the White House Coronavirus Task Force early on, he made it clear that we have no higher priority than the health and safety of the American people. The President launched a whole of government approach. And while we stand here on this day with more than 640,000 Americans having contracted the coronavirus, and our hearts go out to the families of the more than 31,000 Americans who lost their lives and those who continue to struggle with serious consequences of the coronavirus. The truth is that because of the decisive action that our president took early on, suspending travel from China and thereafter from portions of Europe and South Korea, screening passengers, because of the strong actions in partnership with every governor across America, because of the extraordinary efforts of America's healthcare workers on the front lines, and because of the cooperation of the American people and God's grace, we are slowing the spread. We are flattening the curve. We have preserved the capacity of...
And that was the president and other national officials speaking in response to COVID-19. You can continue watching the news conference on our website at theindychannel.com. We'll be back for the news at 7. Now, World News Tonight.